Hello everyone, I'm Erika of beadingschool.com and this is our tiny workshop week. During these days, during the tiny workshop week, I bring you 4 tricks, 4 details of jewels to include in your winter tail collection that we are working on at the moment. The winter tail collection was created by my good friend and fellow designer Heather Kingsley-Heath, and it is the current theme of the Beadingschool Academy. If you would like to learn more about it, then make sure to check out beadingschoolacademy.com and become one of our beloved students today. So today we are going to work on a pair of earrings showcasing one of the exquisite historic filigrees. The historic filigrees in the beading school bead shop, they are made using designs that in some cases are as old as 100 years, and they are created these days from new metal in a small family style manufactory in the Crystal Valley in the Czech Republic. The machines and the stamps that are used to create these filigrees were rescued by this family, since after the Second World War they ended up in a scrapyard. But luckily, thanks to this special collaboration, one by one we are bringing back this special unique beading material that you can enjoy only at beading school. Heather, when curating the winter take collection, selected this beautiful piece to be one of the highlights of the theme box. And you can use it in different ways while we are working with the jewels prepared for this theme. Heather will also show you a beautiful pendant, the highlight of the whole collection, the peacock pendant. But in case that you have some more in your stash, since they are also available in more colors in the Beading School bead shop, in vintage, in old silver, in copper, in gunmetal black, in shiny silver, and in a shiny gold colorway. Maybe you have more, or maybe you would like to use it in a different way. So this is an alternative solution for your winter tail filigree. So let's see what will you need to create an earring just as mine. So the backdrop of the whole piece is the winter tail filigree, as I said, and I created this design with those beaders on my mind who like to showcase the historic filigrees as much as possible, instead of hiding them behind beadwork, behind a bigger piece of beadwork. I also have there 2 purple colored rhombus connectors, and then in the middle there is a 6mm SS29 size Chaton Montee from the Preciosa crystal factory. Then an additional extra where I connected the earring finding. You can see there an oval shaped ear stud decorated with cubic zirconia. Of course, you can use any earring finding that you like. And it is connected to the historic filigree using a really small bunch of milky round seed bead in sizes 15 and 11, and a 2.8mm Preciosa Chaton rhinestone. On the back side of the earring, and I will show it to you on my hand camera, there is a little extra decoration. So there is an extra piece of 2.8mm Preciosa Chaton rhinestone in the same color as at the top holding the earring finding, and a line of size 15 seed beads. So this is how it looks like. You can see how richly detailed the historic filigree is. It's one of my absolute favorite type of beading materials. So let's see, what are we going to do today? First, I'm going to create this sparkly decoration for the middle of the filigree. And for that, as I mentioned, I need the two rhombus connectors and the 6mm Preciosa Chaton Montee. They come in many different colors, by the way, both the connectors and the Chaton Montees. Well, they will come in many different colors during the Beading School Advent Calendar Adventure, but so far you can find 3 different colors in the Beading School bead shop, and you don't have to wait for long until a lot more will be available. And then to attach the decoration to the filigree, I will need my size 15 Miyuki seed beads and also a single piece of the 2.8mm Preciosa Chaton rhinestones that is placed in the middle of this line of seed beads running on the back of the filigree. But first, let's prepare the blingy decoration. I'm using my usual size 11 tulip beading needle, slightly bended by now, and a short piece of my usual black satin colored fire line in the size that I use all the time, 4LB or 0.012 millimeters. First of all, I need to connect the two rhombus connectors to each other. What is super important, I will tie a knot and then join the two connectors to each other by creating loops with my thread through the two little openings next to each other. However, when I tie the knot, then the two connectors should not slide on top of each other, but the loop should be loose enough so the rhombuses stay next to each other instead of one sliding under the other. So I don't have any knots on my thread now, and I start by beading up through one of the connectors. I leave just a little tail thread that will be enough to tie a knot, and then later I will trim it. Then I bead down through the other one. Again, I bead up through the first, I bead up down through the second, and then I repeat the thread path for a third time too. Now I tighten my thread and I hold the connectors in such a way as I want them to place on top of the filigree. As I explained, they should not slide under each other. And now I carefully tie 2 knots at least. I like to tie double knots to make sure that they don't slide apart. So the connection is tight, but the rhombuses stay next to each other. With the tail, I can bead up through one rhombus one more time and then down through the next one, just because I don't want to cut the thread right away next to the knot. So this is how it looks like at the moment. The thread is visible, however, you don't need to worry about that because we will attach the Preciosa Chaton rhinestone over this connection. To do that, now we are going to bead through the holes that are closer to the crystals in the connectors. So while so far I was beading up and down only through the holes that are at the end of the connectors, now I bead up through one of the holes next to the crystal. The Chaton Montee, it has two holes running in a cross shape. The back is fully covered by metal, and there are two ways how you can push your needle through it. So your threads can run parallel with each other, but also in a cross shape. So now I will opt for a cross shape. So my thread is facing the top of the connectors, coming out of one of the holes next to the crystal. I bead through the Chaton Montee, and then I bead down while my thread is coming up through the top hole of the right-hand side connector. I will go down through the bottom hole of the left-hand side connector. And this way, the threads through the chaton will run in a cross shape. Now, I bead up through the hole next to the crystal, the top hole of the left-hand side connector. I bead through the second, so far, open hole of the Chaton Montee, and now I can bead down through the bottom hole of the right side connector. This is how it looks like at the moment, and this is when you need to be careful to keep the connectors in one line. And I also recommend repeating the thread path, beading up through the top hole of the right side connector, crossing the Chaton Montee diagonally, beading down through the bottom hole of the left side connector, beading up through the top hole of the left side connector, crossing the second hole of the Chaton Montee, and now beading down through the bottom hole of the right side connector. This is how it looks like from the back. And the chaton sits nice and tight on top of the two connectors. During this next part, I'm going to attach the blingy decoration to the winter tail filigree. First, I need to trim the tail thread. Please don't laugh at my struggle. My scissors are really dull. Okay, this was not that bad. I trimmed it pretty short, but not like immediately next to the metal. And after attaching the Chaton Montee in the middle of this decoration, my thread is now exiting one of the holes of the connector next to the crystal, but like closer to the middle of this whole blingy decoration. And now I want to work with the holes that are on the outside edges of the whole decoration. So I will not work with these two, only with this on the right side, and then exactly opposite of it on the left side. And first, I want to just simply bead up through the hole that I mentioned. the thread will run on the back of the connector, so it will not be visible at all, don't worry. And now I pick up a single piece of size 15 Miyuki seed beads and I bead down through the same hole. I will attach this hole to this part of the filigree. So you have these two big petals here in the middle, and then there is one and this second, this joint, and the thread will run through this part. It's kind of like a lily or some kind of bouquet of flowers, and the thread will run through the stem of the bouquet. So I try to hold my blingy decoration where it will go, and first I bead down through the hole next to the stem of the bouquet, then I bead up on the other side. I repeat the thread path through the rhombus connector and the size 15 Miyuki seed bead. I bead through the Miyuki and then I bead down again through the rhombus and also through the filigree. And now I will create that long line of size 15 seed beads with the 2.8 millimeter Preciosa Chaton rhinestone in the middle. And on both sides of the Chaton rhinestones, there will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 Miyuki size 15 seed beads, in my case in the same color. So I pick up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Then I pick up my tiny Preciosa Chaton rhinestone and 12 more of the same seed beads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And the beads and the rhinestone will cover exactly the distance between the two spots where the blingy decoration is attached. You need to keep good thread tension through this part, otherwise the rhinestone could turn and show you the backside instead of the colorful one. If that happens to you, then I recommend applying a tiny spot of glue here in the middle on the back. You can use a toothpick to apply it exactly where you need it to go. Now I will attach the other side of the blingy decoration. So I bead up through the filigree. You see here we have the same bouquet-shaped decoration. At least I am reminded of a flower and then the stem of some flowers here. I bead up through the hole on the edge of the left side rhombus connector. This part is going to be tricky, or at least a bit trickier, since there is not so much freedom in the movement of the decoration, but I'm sure that you will manage. I picked up one piece of the size 15 Miyuki. I bead down through the same hole of the connector and then the filigree on the other side of the stem of the flower, let's say. I pull my thread tight to make sure that this part lays exactly on the back of the filigree. I bead up through the filigree again. Then, actually, it's better if I bead up through the filigree and right away through the hole of the rhombus connector, otherwise it's tricky. I cross the size 15 Miyuki. Then I bead down through the connector and the filigree on the back side. I pull my thread tight to make sure that also this blingy decoration stays nicely in the middle of the filigree. And I want to repeat the thread path here. I bead back through the beads and the rhinestone in the middle. Here, on the side which is already attached, I still want to repeat the thread path, so I bead up through the filigree and the loop of the hole of the connector. I bead through this size 15 seed bead holding the connector, and then I return through the same hole of the connector and the filigree, but on the other side of the stem of the flower shape decoration to the back. Again, I bead through all the beads, all the seed beads on the back and the rhinestone. And I repeat the thread path here one more time. So I bead up through the filigree and the connector. It's becoming tight, so be careful when pushing your needle. I bead through the size 15 seed bead. Then down through the connector and the filigree, and I finish off this part by beading through all the seed beads and the rhinestone. I have a feeling that I will indeed apply a spot of glue here, because even after repeating the thread path this is moving a little bit and I don't like that, so I will need a little bit of glue. But for now I can also trim this thread. Now I will fasten the earring holder on the filigree itself. You will need a bunch of Miyuki seed beads, 4 pieces of size 11 round seed beads, and a small amount of size 15 seed beads. I'm using the same color. You need some kind of earring component. It can be an ear hook, it can be an ear stud. It's up to you, a leatherback earring, whatever you like. I chose this nice one with the cubic zirconia at Beading School. We have lots of high quality earring components and also clasps for your pendants and bracelets in many different designs. And the joint between the earring component and between the historic filigree, I will bling it up with a single piece of 2.8 millimeter Preciosa Chaton rhinestone. So I really like it that the Chaton rhinestone on the back of the filigree, it will match the Chaton rhinestone here at the top. I like those nice little details. So let's see, how do you connect the earring component? I use the same type of beading thread and needle And I start by picking up 4 pieces of round 11 milky seed beads. I bead through all of them one more time to create a little square, and then I bead through the very first one for a third time too. I like to start my beaded motifs like this, with repeating the thread path, and then before continuing to the next step with my thread hanging from the same bead, because I find that I can keep good thread tension this way, and the base of the motif will be nice and sturdy. I leave a tail thread of 5-6 inches or 10-12 centimeters that I will weave in later. But now I pick up a size 15 seed bead, and then I enter the next size 11 seed bead, and I continue in the same way all around. So all together, I add 4 pieces of size 15 seed beads, and then I start repeating the thread path until exiting the second size 15 seed bead. So I have this tiny square now. The size 11 milky seed beads are the sides of the tiny square, and the size 15 milky seed beads are the corners. Now I attach the tiny rhinestone. So exiting a size 15, I pick up the 2.8 millimeter Subon rhinestone, and I bead through the round 15 at the opposite corner of the motif. I bead back through the same hole of the rhinestone. So you can see that it is fastened on the little square, but to fully attach it, I bead through the size 15 that I crossed before picking up the rhinestone, and I continue through the next size 11 and size 15. Here, I cross the second open hole of the rhinestone. I bead through the size 15 that is opposite of the one that I was exiting before, beading through the second hole, and then I bead back through the rhinestone, and I bead again through the size 15 on the corner. I recommend securing and trimming the tail thread at this point, because everything is so tiny with this little component that later it can become difficult. So to do that, I popped the needle on the tail thread, and I will just bead all around the seed beads 1 or 2 times. Don't overdo it, because otherwise the holes fill up and you will end up like I did with the first piece of earring, when I actually managed to break one of the size 15s just when I wanted to cross it for the very last time. So you can actually also optionally skip the size 15s and just bead all around through the size 11s, because they are a bit bigger and also the holes are bigger. So when you are done securing the thread, the tail thread, you can trim the tail, and you can return the needle on the working end of your thread. And now let's see how you connect this to the filigree. So it will rest here at this part. So you are exiting a size 15 at the top, and bead up through this big hole closest to the edge of the filigree, and bead through the size 15 opposite of the one that you were exiting before. And here you need to be a little bit careful, place the decoration exactly where it should go, and then you can bead back through the big hole of the filigree, and then again through the size 15 at the very top in the same direction as before. And repeat the thread path at least once. So again, bead up through the big hole of the filigree, cross the size 15 opposite of the one that you were exiting, bead back through the big hole, and again through the size 15 at the very top. So when you pull your thread, then the rhinestone should sit nicely on top of the filigree in one line with the whole blingy decoration in the middle. I hope you like it. And now all what is left is to add the ear stud and the orientation of the loop of the ear stud at the bottom can be either left to right, and in that case it's easy, you just make little loops of seed beads, but this one has a front to back loop, so we need to do a trick to make sure that it stays this way and it doesn't turn sideways. I have an article on the Beading School blog where I explain both methods, but I will also show it now, of course. So I am exiting the size 15 at the top, and my thread is hanging from left to right. I pick up 3 pieces of round 15s and I bead through the loop of the earring from the front to the back. I pick up 3 more size 15s and I bead back through the size 15 in the opposite direction. If you have a feeling that the whole of the size 15 becomes tighter, make sure to switch to a size 12 tulip beading needle, which is a little bit thinner than the size 11. So after adding these 3 round 15s, the ear stud front to back, and then 3 more round 15s, and then beading backwards through the size 15 at the top, you will have a loop holding your ear stud. However, it will hang towards one side. And that's completely fine. We are going to even it out now. So at the moment, your thread is hanging from right to left. You will repeat the thread path first through the 3 round 15 seed beads on the front of the ear stud itself, and then the 3 round 15 seed beads on the back of the ear stud. And now you can bead through the size 15 holding everything in the original direction, so from left to right. And now the ear stud is evened out, but what I like to do is that I bead one more time through the 3 beads on the front, the ear stud front to back always, 3 round 15s on the back of the ear stud, and now without entering the size 15 that is holding the earring hook, the ear stud, I repeat the thread path only through the 3 round 15s on the front, the ear stud, and 3 round 15s on the back. And that will pull the very first seed bead of the front part and the last seed bead of the back part next to each other, and the whole part holding the ear stud will be more like a teardrop and just a bit more elegant. You can do it a few more times until you feel that the beads can hold the thread and you don't break any of them. And this way you can secure the working end of this thread. When you feel that it's tighter, as I said, don't risk it, but swap to a thinner thread, thinner needle instead. So it's done now. All what is left is that I can trim the working end of the thread, and my earring is finished. I hope you liked this. You can find all the material in many different colors at beadingschool.com. We ship worldwide, and from €100, the track and trace shipping all around the world, no matter if you live in Germany, Sweden, the United States, Jamaica, Peru, or the Philippines, is free. If you have any questions, let me know at info@beadingschool.com, and make sure to show me your creation in the Beading School Club on Facebook. Happy beading, everyone! Bye bye!